Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome into another edition of the JMU Sports News Podcast. I'm Bennett Conlon, joined by Jack Fitzpatrick. Jack, we've got an NCAA tournament coming up this week, and there is a JMU team in the event.
There is, and there's a good one in the event, one that has the capability to win a few games, go on a little bit of a run, and get JMU Nation pumped up for some postseason action, something we haven't seen since football.
That sounds right.
Is that right? Because basketballs didn't make it. Soccer's didn't make it.
Men's soccer made it, didn't they? I think they might have, but got bounced fast. But I still think football was way later. So it would be the most recent one, right?
Okay. Yes, and before we really dive into stuff, let's just get this housekeeping out of the way, just so I won't forget. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA and NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use promo code BELIEVE. That's promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BetOnline, the website, or get on the website using your mobile device or desktop, however you choose. BetOnline, where the game starts. Speaking of where the game starts, I think we're starting this podcast in Lacrosse land.
Yes, Lacrosse land, as it's known to many. JMU women's lacrosse, one of the stronger programs that JMU has. Recent national champion.
You're saying this so slowly. Everything okay on your end? Are you stalling for something?
No, I just got lost in a train of thought, and then I remembered that I was in a podcast, and I was like, "Wow, I'm moving pretty slow." But they're one of the better teams that JMU has. The better programs, 10-game winning streak. They're a good team. It's a really small field, though. I think it's 29 teams for the women and like 18 for the men. So it's hard to win it. So for them to do that recently is really impressive. But to get through anyone, you have to play really well. They opened Friday against UConn, which is a team they saw early in the season, actually in Maryland as well, in a neutral site game. They won 13-7. So some good things there. They have a lot of players from Maryland/Baltimore. So I think they'll feel comfortable. If you get through that one, I think does Loyola play anyone before that? No, they're a seed, right? I think they just play. Maybe I'm wrong, actually. Let me double check that. Yeah, Loyola plays Mount St. Mary's, but I think that's one that would be kind of a surprising upset. So if they get through UConn, JMU, that is, realistically, they're playing number 6 seed Loyola, Maryland. And that's I would say, a reasonably favorable draw in terms of like seeds that you might want to see.
Yeah, top 4 seeds are the ones that make it just completely. They get that first round bye. JMU was beaten out by Stony Brook for the 8 seed. There's some talk that JMU would potentially get that 8 seed and would host that first round. Did not happen. But yeah, I think if anything was going to break the way it did, I think Loyola Maryland is a solid second game. And then depending on that, if they win their first 2 games down there in Baltimore, they'll play either, here we go, Denver, Vermont, or Boston College. And Boston College, as we all know, would be a rematch of the 2018 national championship.
Yeah, it'd be pretty shocking if Boston College doesn't get that far. They're insanely good, like a legitimate national title threat. So I would be surprised if the Eagles don't make it to that point. But that's one that'd be really fun if you're JMU. You get a chance to go against Boston College. I think that you're getting close there to like their ceiling, I think, in this tournament. They're playing really well. They're really hot, so you don't want to rule anything out. They beat second seeded Maryland on the road earlier this year. So could you beat third seeded Boston College? Sure.
Kind of shocking before we dive into can they beat Boston College? Kind of shocking to me they didn't get that 8 seed.
It was a little. I think the RPI is at like 10. I think the polls have them around like 10. So I think it kind of made sense. I think some of the early season results hurt them a little bit, and maybe even a little bit the fact that the CAA isn't very good. So you're
They
not
did get
really.
Drexel in. Oh wait, but that was the auto bid, I guess.
That was I think it would have been one bid if JMU was allowed in the tournament. So it was a little weaker than it's been some other years actually. And then you factor in some of those losses, like an early season one over Virginia Tech that I think they had the lead in maybe, and I think might have kind of blown that one. Like that would have helped. Little things there here and there would have maybe put them into the seeding picture more. But yeah, I mean, the way they played, I would say the last month or so, they certainly looked the part of a seed, even though they don't have a seed.
Yeah. Loyola Maryland, 18-1 on the season with wins over Johns Hopkins, Penn, number 12 Florida, number 10 Princeton. And their lone loss was against number 4 Syracuse by 1 goal. So Loyola Maryland, a tough team to beat here in the second round. So that'll be really interesting to see. And yeah, Stony Brook checked in at 8. Denver is also technically ranked higher in the RPI than JMU is. That could be a potential third round date. Denver's number 9 and JMU is 12 in the RPI.
There you go.
Loyola Maryland is 10. So kind of shocking that they got the 6th seed though.
19-1 was 18-1. That's a pretty good.
Yeah, but their RPI is 10.
Resume.
Come on. Denver's a better RPI than they are. If we're going to go into RPI talk, which is always riveting, I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation for sure. I think for me, the expectation is kind of that they get through UConn again.
Yeah.
And then after that, anything is like fair.
It's all gravy.
Yeah. I think that's sort of my thoughts on it. I also have a very hard time seeing North Carolina go down. Like, I mean, it's a hard one on that side because they've been so good this season.
Yeah.
That I think they're 18-0, I believe. So they've been pretty unbelievable. Open the year at JMU and won 15-8. They've got some scores there that are, pretty damn impressive. In Boston College, they beat 16-15 on the road. So that was, I think, one of their closest games of the season. But then they also played Boston College less than a week ago in the ACC championship and beat them by 7. So North Carolina is freakishly good. So that's a tough one. If you're JMU, you wouldn't see them until the national title. So I think the draw is reasonably favorable for them to make a little bit of a run. UConn's no slouch, but I think having played them, they got a good team. But JMU beat them pretty easily in a time when they weren't playing their best either. So yeah. I think that's a favorable start. I think Loyola is beatable, even though they're 18-1. They have a few close calls when they play ranked teams. So,
and they also played in a weak Patriot League.
Weak sauce. So it's a decent draw for them. I'm excited about what could happen. I think if they play Boston College, it'd be a really fun one to watch. Not necessarily expecting them to clip Boston College.
Yeah.
But you mentioned some of the history there, and also the fact that, like, if you're JMU and you're playing a Boston College team that's like one of the best in the ACC, there's not much to lose at that point.
Sorry, an ad just played through my headphones there, and I did not hear a word you said. I assume you said something along the lines of Boston College would be a good game for JMU.
I was saying it'd be a fun matchup, and if you're JMU, you don't have anything to lose.
Yeah. You can watch this first game on ESPN Plus. So ditch your Flow Sports subscriptions now and turn those in for ESPN Plus subscriptions. Yeah. You can listen on the Varsity Network. That's really all I have on lacrosse. There's not a lot of, unless you're like consistently watching women's lacrosse every week in and week out, there's not a lot of information to dive in when it comes to learning the full story through stats.
Pretty good point. I was playing around a little bit with lacrossereference.com, which is essentially a it's like KenPom, but lacrosse.
Oh, okay. So that's what I assumed. Yep.
That's an interesting one to look through, although I think there's also a pro version that I'm not going to
You're not going to sign up for?
Because especially at this point of the season, right? So but it's an interesting one if you are like a big lacrosse geek or something and you want some data. I think there's maybe some interesting stuff to look through. It's got some different type of ratings that you can look at. It's got JMU kind of as the top 15 team, which checks out with a lot of other metrics as well. So
awesome. Thank you for sharing that information.
Oh yeah, and I think I might go to one of these games. Not totally sure yet, but if they get through UConn, it's only like an hour from me, so I think I may swing up Sunday afternoon, depending on the weather.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
So
might
if you're
give it a
going to the
look.
game, be sure to look out for Mr. Bennett Conlin, who will be locked in, probably watching from the top row with a baseball cap on, just so he doesn't get hounded by
Yeah,
UVA fans. Who,
if they do make a deep run, it's interesting that they could have 4 of 5 games on a way to a national title in Baltimore. So
yeah,
that's a worth a note. I guess the road game would be at Boston College, if that, or probably at Boston College. But yeah, cool for them that they can. Baltimore's pretty darn close to Harrisonburg. That's not a very challenging trip for anyone. They're going to have some fans there, I would assume.
yeah, a lot closer than what Boston College is.
Yeah.
Moving on from lacrosse, do you want to hit some Diamond Dukes?
Yeah, which side do you want to start? You want to do softball diamond? You want to do baseball diamond?
Let's go softball.
Let's go softball. I mentioned the season being over. Hannah Shiflett is the CA Player of the Year. Lauren Burnett was named to the CA first team, which I thought was a nice honor for her. Yeah, I'm excited to see the future. I think we need to learn a little more. I want to say Kayla Bozeman had posted that. I know she's a redshirt junior. I didn't sound like she was coming back based off of a Twitter post that she had today. Okay. So like that kind of stuff's going to be interesting to see who comes back. I think Hannah Shiflett's got a year if she wants it. Don't know if she wants to spend that here, or if it's a similar situation to like Sarah Jubis or something where she could go somewhere else depending on major and stuff like that. Although I think she's business management. So JMU does have like business related things, but she's also real close. Know. She's also, I think she wanted to play at UVA coming out of high school. I don't think they recruited her. I think she's from there, and they do have a pretty wild post, like, what is it? Master's business program. So I don't know. Maybe she goes to UVA. That's pure speculation, but I could see her the way she played this year. It was hitting like 400. I could see if she wanted to play Power 5, she probably could, especially in the ACC.
Where'd you get that information that she wanted to go UVA? But
I want to say it was I think it was probably the interview with Dave Riggert she did a few weeks back.
Okay.
I think she was on there for like 20 minutes. It was a really interesting conversation, but she hadn't decided at that time if she's coming back or what. That was just me purely speculating because UVA is better at softball now, and she would certainly play for them. But yeah, I'm interested to see what the veterans do because they have a young team. If they can have any of those veterans come back, I know that would be helpful. But like Bermudez is graduating and not playing again, and it looked like Kayla Bozeman might move on too. So I guess the other one in that group is really just Hannah Shiflett. I think everyone else would be on par to come back. So interested to see what the roster looks like going into the Sun Belt.
You know what I'm really interested to see the roster looking like next year?
Football.
Baseball after they fire Eikenberry.
Let's talk about baseball. They're on a 3-game winning streak.
Cool.
Do you think they're back?
No. They're on a 3-game winning streak after having 3 games postponed. Oh, wait, and they just made them up. Probably because of rain. Duh, Jack. Sorry.
Yeah, those were kind of funny because it was like it rained up the whole East Coast, and that's like Towson's reasonably close to me. And was just like pouring. And they're like, we're going to play a doubleheader on Saturday. And I was like, no, you're not. Like, it's going to rain all day. And then Saturday, they're like, well, do it tomorrow. So they only played 2 in that series. And they had their 3-game winning streak goes back to not getting swept at Presbyterian. So they got 3 against Hofstra. They played Tuesday evening in College Park.
Yep.
Maryland's 20-2 at home this year. So could be a challenge for them.
Probably will be, and then they wrap it up with a 3-game set against UNCW back at home.
Let me pull up the RPI. I want you to guess their RPI.
Okay, while you're pulling that up, it is worth mentioning Chase DeLauder is out for the rest of the season. He will not play again in the spring. The spring.
Probably.
He probably will not be playing in a Cape Cod league. He won't be playing in a summer league, nothing like that. He's focused 100% on the draft. There was some speculation on Twitter from a few fans that if he maybe fell into like the 2nd or 3rd round, would he debate coming back? No, he probably won't. That's life-altering money. That's if you're a high-round draft pick, you're probably going to be looked upon favorably by your organization. Now, if he falls to like the 15th round, maybe he comes back. But Chase DeLauder, we've probably seen him suit up for the last time in a JMU uniform. And Travis Reef-Snyder, changed his number to 22 to honor Lauren Burnett to finish out this season.
Yeah. Yes, that's a really good catch and a good note. Yeah, the Major League Baseball draft is super weird.
Yeah, it's stupid.
But
Because he's a junior and he can turn down being drafted and play for one more year and then get.
Yeah,
I forgot how rights work, and
and the signing bonuses are super weird with like which slot you're in. But if he's like an early round pick, it makes sense for him to like cash in on the fact that he had a really great summer one time in the Cape Cod League, which is like why he's being recruited so heavily, right? I think some JMU fans kind of assume it's maybe what he's done at JMU. And we had Carlos Collazo on from Baseball America who was like, no, it's pretty much just the Cape. When he was going up against like better competition and played really well, is nobody cares about like what he did in the RCBL.
Or what he did in the CAA. Yeah, he was batting 400, but it was against non-MLB arms. Where in the Cape Cod League, you're literally facing, at worst, single A pitchers.
It's also a draft that doesn't have the same level of like NFL style or even NBA style mock drafts or analysts to get a real good idea of where people are going. So a lot of people were like, oh yeah, I'm sure he's still a high first round pick. Like there was some stuff when he was still healthy that was saying that he wouldn't be because of his swing. Like Keith Law had an article on The Athletic that was kind of like roasting his motion. It was like, I don't see it in the first round. So I don't think that's a lock, but I think he's going to go early enough and someone's going to love the fact that he's 6'6", 230 and can mash and say, all right, let's take a shot on this guy early.
He can, I think Carlos was saying he's a good 5-tool guy. Like he can do a little bit of everything. He might not be the most elite batter in the box against better competition. He might not be elite at everything, but he's good at everything. And that in and of itself, a team will fall in love with and will draft.
Yeah, and you try to develop him and see what happens.
There's also baseball's also just weird in general, where you can draft a guy and he might not see the majors until 7 years down the road. Like,
right. Or like ever. Like it's crazy how it works. But I would guess that he's going to take the paycheck.
Yes.
And
if he doesn't, he's kind of stupid.
That's what I was going to say too, is like, they're like Sunbelt could boost his stock, like, or he could struggle or get hurt again and like really tank his stock. So I think at a certain point you take what you can get, and just go try to make something happen in the minors. But he'll make some good money. And it was pretty clear for a while once he was like, if he wanted to come back, I think he might have tried harder to like
come back
from the broken foot and start to So my guess is that he's completely focused on the draft, like you said.
So guessing their RPI, I'm going to guess it is 91.
98.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, they're not like on the bubble. Like they're not in the conversation. And who do they have? They've got Hofstra, which is sitting at 174. So those, even if you get those road wins, is not doing much. UNCW is at 118.
Here's the thing.
They're not making the tournament.
They're not the last four out. They're not even the next four out. They're probably not even next four out.
Yeah, it's a bad league. They're 6 games above 500. They missed out on what we've talked about before, some like potentially huge season-altering wins, Tennessee, Maryland.
Just how do you almost get swept by Presbyterian? I know what's Presbyterian's RPI? Hit me with that.
That's a good question. Presbyterian checks in at 165.
That's terrible that they almost got
Can't
swept.
Happen. Just cannot happen.
I don't care anything else about this season. I think it's time to do not renew Eikenberry for another 1 year. Don't give him 2 years. It's time to move off. If the program suffers, the program suffers. But I think the promise of hope is better than mediocrity.
I don't even think it's going to suffer, really. I mean, that's just my guess. Is they've got season ends on May 21st. My guess is that pretty soon after they do make a move. And
I've also seen fans are like, this is the best season in recent memory. That's not good. This is a bad season. You can't look at me in the face. And what's Quinnipiac's RPI?
What happened in those games to Quinnipiac? I don't even remember.
It's
lose a doubleheader or something?
They lost the first game and then destroyed that. Well, lost game 1, 8-2, won game 2, 6-4, and then blew them out 19-1.
Yeah, that's one you like. Those are the kind of things like if you want to get renewed, right? You got to like sweep that. They're 253.
That's terrible. And you lost a game to them at home?
Yeah, I mean, like those are the kind of things that that sort of kill you a little bit, right? Like they had that good start, and then like going to Tennessee, like that's one where you had one game you could have gotten, the other two you kind of got, or the other one you got smacked. Go get it, or like, and then you got a doubleheader against Morehead State where they blew you out both times. Like,
what's Morehead State's RPI?
153.
That's like, terrible.
It just can't happen, you know. And then like a Virginia Tech win, and people are like, "Oh, it shows the talent," which it does, but you can't have the other results given past season. Like this had to be a really good year, and it's just like it's a fine year. They're fine.
And you go 1-1 in the first two games against Winthrop in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Then it takes 11 innings for you to win the third game, to win the rubber match. Like there's so much of this where I think the talent shows through. Against VMI, you win 28-4. Fairleigh Dickinson, you win 15-5. And then another one in that series, 12-2. You destroy Mason 14-0. These are all early season things. Like against, for the most part, against bad teams, you're beating up on them. You're letting the talent show through. But in the games where you need good coaching, or, you know, it's the spot, as people say, like you need better coaching. You need, I don't know what it is, but I just don't think Eikenberry is it if JMU wants to be a top tier mid-major baseball program.
Yeah, it's a competitive state too. Like there's some good mid-major baseball. There's some good high major baseball. I mean, they haven't won 40 games since 2011 when they won 42. It's also the last time they won 35. Like since 2000, they've won 35 games. Well, like from 2000 to 2010, they had won I mean, there was only a couple seasons when they weren't winning 30 games. Like that was a consistent thing. And now it's like, 30 games. That's the best season in a while. And I think they just
they haven't even hit 30 games. I would not, like, they need to win 4 of their final 7.
You're right. That's fair.
They haven't hit 30 yet. It might not happen.
There's a good chance they don't hit 30. There's a good chance they don't hit 30. I think that it'll be close. It'll be like 29 or 30 is my guess. So
because the Maryland's a loss, so then you have 6 games to win 4. You have to win 67% of your games,
and they've struggled on the road.
3 of them are against Hofstra. 3 of them are against a comparable UNCW team that is playing for seeding in the CAA, where you're not. Like,
it's going to be
here's the bet. Do you bet they hit 30 wins, or do you think they go under 30
If I had to bet, I would take the under.
So would I, yeah.
Yeah, just because four of them on the road, the fact that they haven't shown, like on the road, they show a real jarring lack of consistency. Like Towson sucks. Like, and they were in a couple, like, I mean, they won the games, but it's like, I don't know. There's just so many times where they play a bad team, and I'm like, this is where they'll get the sweep and get it going. And then it's like, oh, Presbyterian clipped them twice. Like, they might get swept.
They're 16-5 at home, really solid record. They're 10-15 away from Veterans Memorial Park.
They have played some better teams on the road. So there's some of that where it's like, all right, they had a couple at Tennessee and 3 at Florida State and that kind of stuff. But at the same time,
Presbyterian.
At the same time, they beat Virginia Tech at home. Like, they've been so good at home and just haven't had that consistency. There's just too many games in there where if you want to, renew the coach who's on a contract year, I feel like you needed to get some of them and they didn't. So we've talked about that quite a lot, but I think it's one that I don't know if there's anything he can do really. Even if he wins the last 7, I don't know that they get in the tournament. And then at that point, what would they be? They'd be 33-20. Is 33-20 enough for another year?
I'm afraid it would be, but as a fan, as someone who wants to have good JMU baseball, I don't want that. Nothing Eikenberry has done this season has convinced. Like, he's a good coach, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's the coach to take this team to the next level.
It's also kind of like the Lewis Rowe thing, right? Where it's like, if they get 8 of their last 10, Mount Lewis gets hot, something happens, they go into the state tournament hot, they make the NCAA tournament, they get a 14 seed, scare the 3 seed, beat them. We're in the second round with Lewis Rowe. And then instead they would just lose the last 10 and get like smoked at home by Elon. So it's one of those where it's like, if they win the last 7, what's going to happen is they'll probably like get swept by Hofstra. So it's a fun hypothetical, but I think that it's probably going to be time. And if it's not time, I would be pretty fascinated by the explanation as to what Jeff Bourne thinks will happen to make the team good.
If it's not time and they sign him to another 1-year deal, that's just terrible.
I don't think it's happening. I think he wants baseball to be good.
I do too, but like, imagine if that happens. That's just bad.
Also, pretty easy hot to spire. I mean,
Whoa, I love a good hop to spire.
Pretty easy spot to hire.
Oh, that's what you
As
meant.
like
Okay. Yep.
as a team in Virginia, in a place that cares about baseball, moving into the Sun Belt. Like, it seems like a pretty easy spot where you could get like a talented assistant or a lower level head coach who'd be like, yes, I would absolutely love to, make whatever it is, a couple $100,000 or whatever, and coach in Harrisonburg in a budding mid-major league.
A couple $100,000, but yeah,
it would probably be like 100 and something. What does Ike make?
Great question. Let me see.
Look it up on the
Breeze salary calculator.
Probably not updated at all. It's not very updated. I haven't done this in a while. I got to do that. 110,000. So I would hope they might pay more for that, depending on the person. But yeah, live like a king in Harrisonburg for 100,000.
Okay, real quick before we get up on out of here, I want you to guess the salaries of each coach. These are from fall of 2021.
What? Who? Okay.
Okay, lacrosse of lacrosse.
130.
Yep, correct. 133.
Hell yeah.
Softball, Lauren Laporte.
I bet she's less. I bet she's like fall of 2021.
Yeah.
So it should be after the College World Series then, right?
Yes.
She's still probably like 110.
97.
That's ridiculous that she's not making it.
Kurt Signetti.
This is interesting because that probably doesn't include
incentives
or any of the like.
I bet there's salary.
I wonder if there's booster nonsense. Yeah,
yeah. There's
base
100%.
salary. Base salary. 350.
459.
459. Okay, base is higher then. That's not terrible.
I'm not going to pronounce her last name correctly. Women's tennis.
80.
78.
Yeah, pretty good.
Who's women's golf? Who's Tommy Baker?
Yeah, Tommy Baker. He's probably similar. I would say he's in like a 75,000 range.
67.
Come on, give my guys a raise.
Any other coaches you want to know?
That makes sense though.
Coach O.
Do basketball.
Let's go Byington first. Byington. Oh my God.
Which way? Oh my God. 250.
393.
Ooh, pretty good. I bet Coach O is probably closer to 250.
Coach O is 243.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Jeez Louise, man.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. That you're really living like a king. 400,000.
Well, there's a reason why Coach O is driving it. I'm not Coach. Yeah, no. Coach Rowe was driving an Infiniti QX80.
The nicest of all cars.
The nicest of all the Infiniti models. Any other coaches you want to know?
I don't know what else we got. That's interesting. Soccer? What are the Soccers?
How do you spell their last names? Josh Walters.
Walters would be interesting. I bet Walters is 92.
Close. 93.
That was really close.
I don't know how to spell the men's soccer.
Oh, it's like Zazinski or something, right?
Tell me how to spell that.
Zazen.
Okay, got it. Guess.
He's probably more, so he's probably 111.
97.
Only 5,000 more.
Interesting stuff. All right.
Gender pay gap. I guess that's not right. It's just sport. It's not right. Gender. Yeah, that's not right. Okay.
Good try. All right. Anything else you got to add?
No, I don't know what our schedule will be. We'll probably have some lacrosse updates in the future, and then maybe we'll ease into a summer break or something.
Yeah, follow along at JMU Sports News on Twitter. It's been a fun year. We'll just have random podcasts throughout, so keep it tuned to at JMU Sports News for any updates when we ask for questions, things like that. And also, if you enjoy the podcast, we always forget to say this: subscribe, rate, tell your friends, all of that, wherever you listen, Spotify, Apple, Breaker, Overcast, Podbean, I think is something. Wherever you listen, give us a rate, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, and check out our home on the web, www.jmusportsnews.com.
Heck yeah.
Hopefully more stuff will be getting posted there.
We'll
is
fire some stuff in there soon.
With football starting back up, we'll start having football breakdown, positional breakdowns, things like that. Positional breakdowns like we've done in the past few years. So looking forward to all of that, Bennett. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Computer science professor makes $115,000. For Bennett Conlon,
you're telling me that he's almost doubling up our women's golf coach? That is a travesty.
For Bennett Conlon, my name is Jack Fitzpatrick. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.